It is a condition not many of the people with it had at birth, and you may even feel sorry for them. But you could succumb to this condition in the blink of an eye and become totally helpless. 12-year-old Nicholas Wantare may not effectively use his arm again, and he probably will have to remain in this wheelchair for the rest of his life because even his legs got paralyzed.
As I tried to reach the fruits on a small branch, I fell.
A big blood vessel was pierced by the bone which was broken. So he lost the hand. They had to amputate it.
We hope that our son will move from that chair and start walking and going to school. I don't know whether we can beg to the crowd so that they can help us to give us this artificial arm.
Nicholas hurt his spinal cord after a fall. Such a hard fall is one of the traumatic causes of spinal cord injuries, or SCI. The most traumatic is road traffic injuries. According to the World Health Organization, road traffic injuries is a global epidemic, killing 1.2 million people each year and injuring 50 million, more than malaria and measles. The injured end up in hospitals, partially or fully paralyzed. Other injuries are from gunshot wounds and sports activities. The Mulago Hospital Spine Ward receives between 23 to 30 patients per month with the spinal cord injuries, mostly due to road accidents. The most affected are men.
If they need operation, they operated. Then after, they now bring in the physiotherapists when they are rehabilitated from the ward. And we have identified that when they go out there in community, they can be able to help themselves. That's when we now prepare them for discharge.
The spinal cord is the major bundle of nerves that carry nerve impulses to and from the brain to the rest of the body. The spinal column or backbone consists of 33 vertebrae. There are 5 major spinal levels. There is so much in having a right posture, but this is something most people take for granted. For example, the way that I'm seated could gradually lead me into a wheelchair. But it's so easy avoiding this, for example, by sitting upright. A consistent wrong posture may herniate or distort the disc which separates the spinal vertebrae.
When you vigorously bend your back or you lift something or you fall into an accident, it can be displaced, and we call it disc prolapse. When it does, and especially when it prolapses toward the spinal cord, it will compress the spinal cord and you will feel severe pain. It will be associated with failure to move your legs and you become suddenly paraplegic.
Besides the traumatic causes of spinal cord injuries, there are non-traumatic causes, which are the leading causes of death for people with SCI. These include bacterial and viral infections of the spinal nerve cells, cysts or tumors, pressing on the spinal cord, interruption of the blood supply to the spinal cord, eventually causing cord damage. Others are congenital medical conditions from birth that affect the structure of the spinal column, like the spina bifida. Tuberculosis of the spine is another condition you need to look out for. Unlike pulmonary TB, which manifests in coughing, TB of the spine is hard to notice. This is what gripped 9-year-old Anthony Babirye.
She told us her back was itchy. That's how she started developing a hunchback.
The TB interrupts the nerve function from the brain through the spinal cord, and the message which would come from the brain to make the legs work is interrupted with. If it is cancer, then these are the people whom we should be exposed to radiotherapy to reduce the weight of the cancer. If it is TB, immediately we have to start on TB treatment, but also with anti-inflammatory medicine so that we reduce the inflammation of the cord.
Most chronic diseases lead to kyphosis or Sherman's disease, a curving of the spine that causes a rounding of the back, leading to a hunchback or slouching posture, which may be permanent. In general, the higher in the spinal column the injury occurs, the deeper the effect it will have on a person. It's important that you receive medical attention immediately after an injury. The injuries affect the 5 spinal levels in different ways. Cervical injuries are the worst. They lead to full or partial tetraplegia or quadriplegia, where all limbs are affected, and this is what happened to Nicholas. Thoracic or chest and leg injuries lead to paraplegia, which affects both legs, as is the case with young Babirye. Studies show that at least 52% of the people with SCI suffer from tetraplegia, while 46% suffer from paraplegia. Lumbosacral injuries lead to decreased control of the legs, hips, urinary system, and the anal muscles.
People can't pass urine because the muscles that would make them to expel the urine are actually paralyzed. They also don't open their bowel, they don't go to toilet. So we have to cater for those, otherwise people will get some problem, including infection or backflow of the urine into the system to get renal failure. So we have to pass catheters and we have to attend to their toilet needs so that we evacuate manually their rectum and remove the stools. We have to protect these people because sometimes the muscles of the legs may be associated with blunting of sensation. So these are the people whom you will find actually developing bed sores, because when you don't have time to turn them, so every 2 hours you have to turn them.
Very eye injuries, C1 to C2, can result in the loss of many involuntary functions, including the ability to breathe, necessitating breathing aids such as mechanical ventilators or diaphragmatic pacemakers. Other effects of SCI may include low blood pressure, mental incapacitation, inability to effectively regulate blood pressure, reduced control of body temperature, inability to sweat, chronic pain, as well as the inability to have sex. In the extreme case, most men become impotent, but what worries the majority is whether they could ever use their limbs again. In very rare cases, people with SCI will regain some bodily functions years after the injury. However, only a very small fraction of such people recover all the functions. Florence Nalimba, NTV.